Hi there, I'm Greg Hudson, President and CEO of the dallaszoo, and it's my pleasure to welcome everyone to Wild Night In, the dallaszoo's first ever virtual fundraiser. Whether you're a longtime dallaszoo supporter or this is the first time learning about the great work we do here, we are happy you joined us tonight for Wild Night In. We missed seeing everyone in person this past November. That's normally when we have our annual Zoo-Doo Gala. Unfortunately, the world's circumstances just wouldn't let it happen. Zoo-Doo is our biggest fundraising event of the year. It provides critical support for our operations and mission programs. Like everything else in 2020, Zoo-Doo, as we know it, has been forced to change, and now we are so pleased to present Wild Night In. Over the past year, we have lost more than $5 million in revenue due to the effects of the pandemic. But in the midst of some of our darkest days came so many bright spots. Our donors, members, and sponsors were a constant source of encouragement and vital support. Our dallaszoo team of staff and volunteers, I can't say enough about how impressed I've been with their unwavering commitment in the midst of constant change. A great example of that is dallaszoo Lights. In spite of the many obstacles and with the Herculean effort by the staff, the families of North Texas were still able to enjoy a wonderful holiday experience at the zoo this year. And the mission critical work never stopped. We'll highlight tonight some of the amazing achievements and new faces you'll want to come out and visit very soon. Before we officially kick off our Wild Night In, I want to give a special thank you to our presenting underwriter, the Eugene McDermott Foundation, and to American Airlines, the official Zoo-Doo airline. Both of these incredible partners have given to the zoo through years of generous support. And now it's my pleasure to introduce our host for the evening, our Executive Vice President of Animal Care and Conservation, Harrison Adell.
Thank you, Greg, and thanks to each of you at home for tuning in and sharing your Wild Night In with us. I'm Harrison Adell. In addition to being dallaszoo's Executive Vice President of Animal Care and Conservation, my other title here at the zoo is Chief Mission Officer, and that alludes to the fact that my teams in animal care, animal health, conservation, and education are all at the heart of delivering on our mission of engaging people and saving wildlife. And celebrating our mission is really what tonight is all about. I'll be popping in throughout the evening to let you know what's coming up. Think of me as your personal safari guide for the night. And what would any safari be without close encounters with wildlife? So please join me in welcoming Windspear, our cheetah, to the stage. Shannon, tell us a little bit about how Windspear got ready for Wild Night In.
So in typical cat fashion, he slept about 20 hours today, so he's ready to party all night.
Perfect. Windspear is one of our ambassador animals here at dallaszoo. Tell us a little bit about what that means.
So our ambassador team works really closely with a lot of our guests and our general public, and we also had the opportunity to reach out to people who wouldn't normally get to see animals up close. Research shows that being able to see animals up close in person helps to drive a stronger bond between our guests and conservation efforts. So the work we do is really important.
Very good. So essentially, as an ambassador, he's going to help our guests understand the challenges that face cheetahs in the wild.
Exactly, and when you come to the zoo, you can learn all different ways that you can help wildlife.
Very good. Thank you guys for joining us. I appreciate it. We'll spend the next 45 minutes highlighting some of the great work our teams did this year, showcasing animal stories that we can't wait to share, and hearing from a member and a volunteer about what their connection to the dallaszoo means to them. And speaking of connections to the dallaszoo, I also want to take a moment to thank Hal and Diane Brierly and Ruth O'Donnell Much. These are longtime supporters of the dallaszoo and donated tonight at our Troop of Gorillas level. It couldn't be more appropriate that our first highlight of the evening is a visit with Linda and Tammy from our primate team, who are going to introduce you to our entire gorilla troop and talk a little bit about one of our conservation partners that does amazing work saving gorillas in the wild. So without further ado, over to you, Linda King.
Thanks, Harrison. We're here at the Overlook at one of our 2 gorilla habitats. I'm here today with fellow Assistant Supervisor Tammy Yoakum. Tammy, can you tell us a little bit about the family?
Sure. Our family group consists of 3 females, along with 2 of them that have offspring. So Asha is the newest member of our group. She's 18 years old, and she came here in August of this year, so she hasn't been with our group that long. And then we have Megan, who's 15, and she is the mother of Mbani. Megan's a little bit quirky. Mbani's about 1.5 years now, a little over 1.5 years, and he, of course, is adorable. And then we have Shanta, who's 23, and she is the surrogate mother for Sambili, who's our other little one. She's about 2.5 years old now. Shanta's a very good mom. She takes her job very seriously. She takes very good care of Sambili, and she also takes good care of Mbani because she acts as a babysitter. And what's also really cool is Megan and Asha are actually sisters that have just recently been reunited.
We also have in our South Habitat, we have a group of bachelor gentlemen. Can you tell us a little bit about them?
Sure, we have 4 boys. It's a group of 4. They're all 18 years old. And they're only 9 months apart in age, so they're all pretty close together in age. So Juba's the oldest. He's sort of the most serious of the boys. He doesn't do a whole lot of playing. He's very, very serious, but he loves to watch the public. So his favorite thing to do is hang out by the glass and watch the people. And then the Bwenzi, he grew up with Bwenzi, so they've known each other their whole life. Bwenzi's sort of the biggest guy. At least he has the biggest head. He has a really big head. He's super handsome. He's very expressive. And he sometimes sort of guides how the group is going to go that day. So they don't have a true leader like a family group would. They sort of take turns, and it depends on the day and what's going on. But Bwenzi can shift the mood of the whole group just by making a simple little noise, and everybody really responds to that. So he's really interesting. Then we have Shauna and Zola. So Shauna and Zola also grew up together, and they're half brothers. So Shauna is, he can be very playful, but Zola's probably the goofiest of our group. He likes to make up games. He's always playing with sticks and carrying things around.
So Tammy, a lot of people ask us how we got the gorillas and who decides who goes where. The pairing for Sambili and Mbani's parents was recommended by the Gorilla Species Survival Plan. And so we know that that is sort of a match.com for gorillas that are in human care in North American zoos in the AZA population. And it's so important, every birth that they recommend and that is successful is crucial for the population, which goes a long way to safeguarding these animals from extinction. And we are also able to share information with conservation organizations like GRACE that we work closely with. Tammy, can you tell us a little bit more about GRACE?
Sure, we're really proud to be partnered with them. So GRACE stands for the Gorilla Rehabilitation and Conservation Education Center. That's a mouthful, right? And they are on the ground doing work in Africa. We've actually sent some dallaszoo employees out there to help them out periodically when we can. Obviously with COVID now, that's not an option. But basically the organization, they rehabilitate orphaned gorillas, and they teach them all the things that they need to know before they can go back into the wild. So the ultimate goal, of course, is to have wild gorillas, but there's a lot that they have to learn before that's possible. So there are different stages and lessons that they have to learn. They also, they educate people about gorilla conservation and sort of try to get them passionate about protecting the gorillas. And they do that by explaining why they're so endangered and some of the threats that they face, like habitat loss, of course, is a really big one that everyone knows about. But also things like the bushmeat trade, which is hunting wild animals for food. And that can really damage gorilla populations. So they try to educate the local people as well as people all around the world about that. And what's really great is they involve the local people at the local level. So they hire all local people, they provide them with jobs and money to feed their families. And it sort of empowers them to really care about those gorillas and then want to help to protect them. And that word spreads throughout the community and it gets everybody involved. So without that, you can't really have a good conservation program. So it's a really important component of what they do. So we're really happy to work with them.
Absolutely. It's a great organization. Well, thanks for talking with me today, Tammy.
Of course.
As you can see, there are many exciting things happening here at Gorillas. Please consider a donation to the dallaszoo so that we can continue the great work we are doing here at the Gorilla Habitat. Thank you so much for your support. Back to you, Harrison.
Thanks so much, Linda. Tonight is all about inspiring everyone to go all out for our Wild Night In. So I want to make sure you all know how you can donate and how to support the zoo tonight. We encourage you to visit the dallaszoo website and click through our Wild Night In page. Or you'll find a link to our Wild Night In page in any of our social media feeds tonight. From the Wild Night In page, you'll find an easy way to view all of the unique items in our online auction, from animal paintings to amazing zoo experiences to some great technology and food packages. So go check them out and place those bids now. You can also buy raffle tickets there for a chance to win an exclusive encounter with our hippos. And you don't want to miss that, especially once you see some of the news we'll share with you later in tonight's program. You're also able to donate direct from the webpage if you're so inclined. And you should know that all of the money that comes in from our Wild Night In event goes straight to our operating budget, which funds all kinds of things related to animal care, feeding, healthcare, and enrichment items. But we'll share a little bit more about that later too. And look who decided to step in. This is Hodari, who's our Varro's eagle owl, also called the milky eagle owl. These guys are incredible birds with incredible senses, and she's totally distracted by all the stuff that's going on the stage this afternoon. I'm going to see if Hodari is interested in taking some food. I'm not sure how hungry she might be. My friend was certainly hungry earlier, but not so hungry now. Wondering if anybody else out there is hungry. Local chef Dan Landsberg has been a longtime Zoo-to-Do and now Wild Night In supporter. And he invited us to his home earlier to show us how to make a fun zoo-themed appetizer. So let's see what Chef Dan had up his sleeve.
Hey everybody, Chef Dan Landsberg here. Thank you for joining us online for Wild Night In Party. All right, so I hope you have a little something to eat and drink in front of you, and I hope you're able to take advantage of ordering your takeout from the many restaurants and chefs that have supported the zoo over the years. Thank you for your support. So I'm in my home, in my kitchen, and I'm gonna prepare for you something tonight, Tobogo's Ahi Tuna Tostadas. So the most important point of the Ahi Tuna Tostada is your tuna. So you wanna make sure that you're using Ahi tuna, sashimi grade, really bright red. This is about half a pound. So we're gonna split it in half, just right there. And then we're gonna cut our little strips. Now when you're cutting, you notice my fingers are back. That is so if the unfortunate happens, it doesn't hurt so bad. After we have our strips, we're gonna turn it and we're gonna make our dice. We just kind of go the same width that we did on the strips is the same width we're gonna do as we're coming across. And we have these beautiful, beautiful cubes. So once we have our dice, we're just gonna take our mixing bowl here and transfer over. We're going to take our cilantro. To give a nice chiffonade, we're gonna take and kind of pinch it together there. And then with our fingers back, just gonna slice nice and evenly, right straight across through. So now we'll take this, pop that in there. All right, and then our scallions. So we're just gonna cut the same width that we did for the cilantro, so they all kind of eat the same. And that mouthfeel is consistent and nice. All right, next, sesame seeds. So I like toasted black sesame seeds. White ones will work as well. So we're gonna do just about a tablespoon. Also, sriracha. So we're gonna do about a tablespoon here. And the next item we're gonna do is sesame oil. The sesame oil is going to kind of accentuate those black sesame seeds. And now it's just simply giving it a nice mix. You don't wanna bruise the tuna at all. You really wanna kind of pick it up and out. I also use a nice oversized spoon so that I can get a little bit more on there. And then the ever important, you gotta taste. Every chef will tell you, looks beautiful, but how's it taste? Great. All right, so now this Kewpie mayonnaise is a beautiful, it's a seasoned product, and it has a little sweet, a little salty. And so for this recipe, we're going to puree the Kewpie mayonnaise and a little avocado, and this will be our topper for our tostadas. We're gonna do a full cup. This will be a whole avocado to 1 cup of Kewpie mayonnaise. We'll add our other one. We're gonna put our lid on. This will be a little noisy. And then use your plunger to kind of get all that in around. So we're gonna use a little Ziploc bag. I like to put it in a cup. And this way you don't have to worry about the bag going across or falling. Seal it. And then we're gonna take one little corner here. We're gonna cut that corner just a tiny bit. And now we have a pastry bag. Now our next step is we're gonna want to fry our tostadas. Now you can do this in 2 different ways. So we'll do 2 different size tostadas. What I like to use are these pot sticker wrappers. If you want to do for a pass bite, I would use any kind of ring, and we just take about 4 or 5 deep. You don't want to go much deeper than that. A little difficult to press through. You just simply press through till you come through, and you have your finished product. So for these, I like 325 degrees. I have about a 1/4 inch of oil. Just tilt it up a little bit, being very careful not to burn yourself. And place your thermometer in. Great, we're at 325 degrees. Carefully put it back down. Again, we don't want to burn ourselves. And we'll just slip those in. And as you see, they'll kind of curl up on themselves. And then also you can fry your large ones at the same time as the small ones. So the bubbles represent the moisture. The moisture's cooking out. So when you don't see bubbles anymore, as you're pressing in, then they are going to be nice and crispy. Drain them out. When you're pulling them up, be very, very careful that your knuckles get in there or any kind of splashing. Oil burns are pretty nasty. I'll show you how to build some of your smaller ones. Just a little bit. You don't want to overwhelm, and it really is just as simple. For our garnish, that avocado Kewpie mayo we did, just going to do a little dot on each one. The black sesame there to finish out. And there we have Tobogo's Ahi Tuna Tostadas. Well, thanks for joining us tonight. If you do make these at home, please tag us at dallaszoo on your social media outlets so we can see how you did. All right, thanks a lot. Have a good night.
Tobogo's Ahi Tuna Tostada recipe sounds outstanding, and I plan to make it for my next get-together. That recipe, plus a few other cocktail and mocktail recipes, can be found in our digital event guide. Be sure to download that now if you haven't already. You can find a link to it on our Facebook event if you want to grab it now. It's got all kinds of great goodies in it. Flamingos are pretty tall, but did you know that whooping cranes are actually the tallest bird in North America, standing at approximately 5 feet in height? I recently chatted with Sabrina Liu, who's one of the zoo's curators, so we could share an update with all of you on the conservation work we're doing at the Whooping Crane Center of Texas. That's our off-site breeding and release conservation facility that we built several years ago near the zoo to house whooping cranes that had to be rehomed when another conservation center shuttered. Ours is one of only 6 facilities across North America that has the awesome responsibility of helping these endangered birds breed and then, one day, be able to release cranes into the wild to help increase the wild population. Here's the latest on this exciting project. Sabrina Liu is our curator of birds and ectotherms here at the Dallas Zoo, and I would never ask you to pick your favorite bird, but I understand that you're kind of partial to whooping cranes, so I was hoping we could talk about whooping cranes.
Yeah, so whooping cranes are pretty awesome animals. They're found here in the United States and in Canada. They're the larger of the 2 crane species, the smaller one being the sandhill crane. They're pretty cool because they come straight through the Dallas-Fort Worth area. They migrate from Port Aransas all the way up into northern Canada to Wood Buffalo National Park, where they do their breeding and they spend their winters down in Port Aransas. They're endangered predominantly because of hunting. In the 1900s, they were hunted almost to extinction. By 1940, there was only about 15 birds left total.
15 individuals?
15 individuals, yep. Still making that flight from Port Aransas up to Wood Buffalo National Park. And at that point, there was a lot of concerted efforts to do some protection of habitat, and it's something we're still battling with today.
We got involved a few years ago, and then it's been, I guess, 2 years or so, 3 years that we've been in planning and construction, and then finally welcomed our first pairs of whooping cranes to the Whooping Crane Center of Texas. Was that 2 years ago, I guess?
Yeah, so we welcomed our first birds to the Whooping Crane Center of Texas in August 2019. They did their first breeding season this past year, and they did really well. Sometimes it takes a while for cranes to get established and comfortable.
I guess ultimately the goal is that whooping crane chicks that hatch just outside of downtown Dallas would eventually go back to the wild, right?
That is correct. Come February, March, we're hoping to get some breeding behavior, maybe an egg or a chick on the ground this year.
So phase 1 of the Whooping Crane Center has been complete for about a year and a half. We've got the pairs that are set up there to breed, but we still have phase 2 yet to build. Is that right?
That is correct. So we have a commitment to hold up to 10 pairs of breeding birds. Right now we can only hold 6. And ultimately, we do need a propagation and rearing area, plus a release yard for the subadults, so we can actually prepare them for release. COVID, it's been a fairly significant hit. From a financial standpoint, again, we're trying to build the next phases of the Whooping Crane Center, and that is slowed down quite significantly. For me, and I think some of my staff, cranes are species that we read about. Whooping cranes specifically. I mean, I grew up here in Texas, and so I was reading about what the whooping cranes were doing and the conservation efforts that were going to this species. And so for me to actually be involved in something like this, and for my staff, it really brings it home. as to why I got into this field. There's a lot of work that happens behind the scenes at a lot of zoological facilities, dallaszoo being one of them. And it's important conservation work that I don't think people realize. And every person that comes through that gate is contributing to that effort. And every person that donates through the website or other avenues is contributing to those efforts.
Well, thank you. Thank you for taking time today. Thanks for catching up, and thanks for sharing your story about whippet grains. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Talk about making an entrance. This is Mo, one of our trumpeter hornbills, who's part of our Wonders of the Wild show. And this flight, or people's reaction to it, are something we see on social media all the time. So let's talk about that. Have you posted on social media yet about Wild Night In? We want to see pictures of you in your safari chic. And don't miss the custom Wild Night In stickers and filters you can add to your Instagram and Facebook stories. We've loaded you up with social media goodies. So be sure to tag @dallaszoo and use the hashtag WildNightIn so we can find all your posts and see you out there helping us to spread the word. Some of our biggest advocates are always our dallaszoo members. And in a year like no other, our members truly did go all out for us. We had existing members who renewed early or even upgraded their memberships, and new members who joined while the zoo was closed, just knowing that we needed some support. And that gave us all something to look forward to when we reopened. Membership helps fund our ongoing operations, but beyond what that support does for us, a dallaszoo membership often is a valued way for families to spend time together, being educated, entertained, and inspired. So let's hear from some of our President's Circle members about what their dallaszoo membership means to them.
We come to the zoo at least twice a month, sometimes more. It's always different. No two visits are ever the same. My name is Courtney August.
I'm Evan August.
And we are President's Circle members of the Dallas Zoo. We have been members for many, many years, and then this year we decided to upgrade to President's Circle.
We wanted to give back more. We felt like we want to support the zoo. It's just been a great bonding experience. When so much else was closed and didn't feel as comfortable, the zoo still felt like a very safe place for us.
Evan and I grew up in Dallas, and I have such distinct and wonderful memories of coming to the Dallas Zoo myself, not only with my siblings, but also on field trips. When our oldest was in second grade, her entire class came down for a field trip, and I got to chaperone it. To watch her experience the same fabulous memories, it's the best.
We love how the zoo embraces every season with zoo lights in the wintertime and the concert series in the summer.
Our kids come to camp during the summer. I mean, there's always something. The zoo has taught our children about not only animals, but different parts of the world, different family dynamics. Sometimes you see baby gorillas tumbling around with their moms. Sometimes you see African painted dogs who have recently been fed.
We encourage every family to support the zoo. They do so much for all the animals here, and it's just such a great place in Dallas to come and enjoy with your family. We want it to continue to thrive.
The zoo's really been there for all of us for so long, and there's nowhere in the city that has done more for our family than the Dallas Zoo. We were so happy to be able to help. There's nowhere we'd rather go.
I'm here with Orinoco, the red-tailed boa, slithering onto your screen to remind you to stay tuned. We've got some really great stories coming up. And beware, there are lion cubs in your very near future. We'll give you a look at how much our lion cub trio has grown since we welcomed them here to the Dallas Zoo in August. And just a reminder to go browse through our online auction. Those raffle tickets are a steal at 1 for $20 or 6 for $100. It's a small price to pay for a chance to win a priceless experience with our hippos. But back to this guy. What would a wild night in look like for Orinoco?
Ooh, Orinoco might hang out in her mulch and maybe even enjoy a tasty wrap.
You know, a visit to our herpetarium is a great way to introduce kids or nearly anyone to reptiles, which might otherwise sometimes be scary. But it's amazing to see a little bit of knowledge and a lot of wow factor can help replace that anxiety with, that's amazing. Now let's take a trip over to the herpetarium and visit with Shanna and Amber from our reptile team to learn a little bit more about some of the other rock stars in our cold-blooded collection. Over to you, Amber.
Hey, thanks, Harrison. We're here in our herpetarium with our favorite ectothermic friend, Lewis the Grand Cayman Iguana, and our endothermic senior zoologist, Shanna Fedlich. Shanna, can you tell me more about Lewis here?
So Lewis is our Grand Cayman blue iguana, and he's a proud father of 5. His babies have been sent to other zoos for a species survival plan. This species was once critically endangered with less than 25 animals in the wild, but now has been a success story thanks to a release program and a Head Start program where there have been over 1,000 Head Started iguanas released back to their native habitat in Grand Cayman.
So aside from Lewis here, we take care of about 1,000 animals between our reptiles, amphibians, and invertebrates. Our morning starts off at 7 a.m. sharp doing our morning walkthrough. We check on all the animals. Then we check on all of our satellite buildings, which includes the amphibian ark, which you're going to tell us more about later. The Nile crocodiles, our Galapagos tortoises, Bug U, and our crocodile monitor breeding facility. After our morning checks, we have salad days, which was today. We hand out all of our salads to our herbivores, chop in some worms for the omnivorous tortoises, and then afternoons are meant for our projects and feeding carnivores, which today we'll be feeding all the vipers and all the cobras.
Plus, tons of conservation work happens behind the scenes at our Amphibian Rescue Center. We currently house 3 species of amphibians at the Ark. We house our native species, the Houston toad, we house dusky gopher frogs, and we house Puerto Rican crested toads. All 3 of these species are here for breed and release programs. We've had success with all 3. The dusky gopher frogs, since 2018, we've been able to release almost 60 froglets back to the wild in Mississippi. In 2019, we had success with our Puerto Rican crested toads, sending 7,000 tadpoles back to Puerto Rico. And also, we had over 10,000 Houston toad tadpoles sent back to Austin area to be released to the wild.
Which is just incredible. We're also working with our state reptile, the Texas horned lizard. For over a decade, dallaszoo staff has been involved with the conservation and research of this species. We've even released babies born right here at the dallaszoo back into the wild to bolster populations.
We love reptiles, amphibians, and inverts, and we hope that our guests also get a view of that coming here to visit us at the herpetarium and at dallaszoo.
We really hope that you'll consider supporting us here at the dallaszoo and all the conservation work we do, and also just the regular work we do regardless of the pandemic. From everybody here at the herpetarium, thank you. Back to you, Harrison.
Thanks, Amber. That was awesome. I promised you a few minutes ago that lion cubs were coming up, and I wasn't lying. We've got them up next. But I've got another tip for you. You do not want to miss our last video tonight. We're showing you some never-before-seen video of something big that's coming up in just a few minutes. I should mention, I'm joined on the stage now by Mario and Gatsby and Sid. I think most people assume that penguins are from cold places, but these guys are African penguins found along the coast of South Africa. From one iconic trio to another, let's check in with our carnivore team for an update on those lion cubs. Over to you, Lisa.
Thanks, Harrison. Here in the carnivore department, we have the privilege of taking care of our African lion pride, which includes 3 adult females, 1 adult male, and 3 adorable lion cubs who were born on August 17th of 2020. I'm here with Kim Becker, one of our senior zoologists. Kim, can you believe how fast the cubs are growing?
No, I really can't. It has been a wild ride here at Lions. Back in March, our male lion, Kajani, arrived from the Fresno Chaffee Zoo right before the zoo closed due to the pandemic. While we were closed, we were hard at work getting him introduced to Bahati. In just a short time, she became pregnant and we were over the moon.
It was so incredible. I remember the first time that we were able to see the cubs on the ultrasound. We had been practicing the ultrasound for a long time before we started breeding the lions because we wanted to be ready when the time came. So we had done a few ultrasounds for a few weeks without being able to confirm it. And then suddenly we were able to see 2 of them.
And then the day finally came and she went into labor, but it wasn't progressing, so we decided to rush her to the hospital and perform a C-section. It was such a whirlwind of emotions, but we had teams ready on standby to take the cubs, clean them off, warm them up, and give them their first bottle. And then it's when we noticed there was a 3rd cub, and we were so overjoyed.
Yeah, that was pretty amazing, wasn't it? So we knew that at that time the cubs' journey was far from over. So within that first week, we could tell that one of the cubs was walking differently than the others, and it turned out that she had some developmental issues with her legs.
We worked together with our vet department to come up with a physical therapy regimen to strengthen her legs and get her walking properly.
It was truly amazing to see her progress. We could tell that she had an incredible will to fight and that she was going to get stronger every day. And that's why we named her Alola. It means to become strong.
Today, we are thrilled to report that Alola is a strong and healthy cub, just like her brother and sister. She has blown us away with her resiliency, and she was even the first cub to jump onto the benches in their rooms, and that's now her new favorite spot. It has been such a blessing to work with these cubs during these crazy times, and I couldn't be more grateful for this opportunity, as they are the first cubs I have worked with, and I love that they are an advocate for their species.
Absolutely. Watching these cubs grow has been such a joy. Let's talk about what's been going on lately. Tell us a little bit about your day-to-day routine with the Lions.
We always check on each individual animal in the morning to make sure everyone is healthy. After the first visual check, we then start preparing and cleaning the habitat to be ready for the day. Before they are shifted out, they get a big breakfast, and we sometimes do some training with them. Lately, our focus has been on getting everyone comfortable with the cubs so that they can all go out on habitat together. This has been a delicate process, as Bahati is a first-time mom and still learning the ropes of motherhood. Luckily, she has her Aunt Jasiri to look up to as a role model.
These cubs are getting bigger and bigger every day, and they have the important role as ambassadors for their wild counterparts. I just love watching the faces of our guests light up when they see the cubs for the first time. Our mission of engaging people and saving wildlife would not be possible without our community, our guests, and our generous donors. From all of us here at the Dallas Zoo, especially here in the Carnivore Department, thank you.
Thank you, Lisa, for that look at all of the work that happens behind the scenes at the Dallas Zoo. And here's Fred, who's a fan favorite from our Wonders of the Wild show and from Cameo fame. It's true, he's quite a popular guy. If you haven't met one before, Fred is a capybara, which is the world's largest living rodent. And he wants you to know that it's not too late to give directly to support the Dallas Zoo right now. You can text Dallas Zoo to 56651 to give through our online bidding system, or you can make a donation from the Wild Night Inn website. Fred also wants you to make sure you watch these next two highlights before we close out the night. The first segment really hits home and describes how the financial need grew while the work continued, even though our gates were closed for part of 2020. And then we'll spotlight a volunteer and her passion for the work she does right here at the Dallas Zoo.
Did you know the Dallas Zoo spends more than $1 million a year on food for our animals? That's $20,000 every single week.
We spend $110,000 each year to keep our animal hospital fully stocked with critical supplies from medications to lab and surgical equipment.
We are still working to overcome the effects the pandemic had on our attendance and business overall, and we will be for some time.
One thing that has not wavered is our commitment to providing the highest level of care every single day for every animal that calls the Dallas Zoo home. We are privileged to oversee this care firsthand. Myself, Diana Leidick, as the Director of Hospital Operation, and my colleague, Carrie Slifka, as the Curator of Nutrition.
Here at the William M. Beachroll Animal Nutrition Center, our staff works tirelessly to ensure that all of the animals at the zoo are well fed and that all of their nutritional needs are being met. From the smallest herbivores like a naked mole rat who only eats 12 grams per day, to our biggest meat eaters, our Lion Pride, which eats over 27 pounds of meat daily, our 7 nutrition staff prepare and deliver diets for a wide variety of nutritional needs across the zoo.
And at the A.H. Metals Animal Healthcare Facility, our team of veterinarians, expert licensed veterinary technicians, and specialized zoologists take care of all of our animals' medical needs. From goat hoof trims to lion C-sections, we see it all, and we make sure that each animal gets the Dallas Zoo's famous and exceptional level of care.
Anytime we welcome new babies, our team jumps into action to develop a precise nutrition plan for both mother and offspring. You already know Bahati's precious lion cubs, Izwi, Alola, and Tadala. After they were born via emergency C-section, Bahati was unable to produce milk, and it was up to us to provide the cubs with the nutrients they needed for a strong start in life. We have been monitoring how much the cubs are eating and tracking their growth since the day they were born.
Those little cubs kept the vet staff busy too. When it became clear that Bahati's labor was not progressing naturally, our skilled veterinary team stepped in to perform the C-section and safely delivered all 3 cubs.
One of our biggest accomplishments this year was that the Okapi Animal Care Manual was updated and revised and is in final review at this time. Dallas Zoo holds leadership roles in husbandry, veterinary, and nutrition for the Okapi species survival plan.
Another project our team worked hard on this year was a big change in our flamingo flock. You may not have noticed, but we actually traded out about 30 flamingos with the Audubon Zoo. This was to enhance our breeding program and maintain genetic diversity. The veterinary team worked with the bird zoologists to perform exams and collect blood samples from not only the 30 flamingos that left our flock, but also the 30 newcomers.
For every baby born, every nutrient measured, and every life-saving surgery, there is a financial cost. It costs $25 a day to feed one of our gorillas and $50 a day to feed our African painted dogs.
It costs about $1,000 per month for the dallaszoo to monitor our herd for EEHV, a potentially lethal strain of herpes that affects elephants, and to ensure we are properly prepared for any outbreaks.
As you can see, providing exemplary care to our animals adds up, and the costs that we've mentioned are only a fraction of our annual budget.
None of our work would be possible without generous donors like you supporting us during this event and throughout the year.
Help us make Wild Night In an event to remember. Please consider a donation to the dallaszoo to help us maintain our species-saving efforts both here and around the globe.
From all of us here at the dallaszoo, especially the Animal Hospital and Nutrition Center, thank you for your support.
Hi, I'm Gabby Fleming. I'm a North Savannah Keeper Aid volunteer, and I've been here since May of 2018. I have always loved animals, and I really wanted to get more involved in the community. So I really wanted to volunteer and happened to look on the zoo webpage and sign up one day at midnight. My first day as a volunteer, I remember feeling like a little girl walking into the barn and getting to see a giraffe up close. It was something like out of a dream, and I definitely shed a tear or two. They're so magical up close. Even though I work full-time and I'm a full-time grad student, there's absolutely no other way I'd spend my Sunday. Getting to be with the zoologists and with the animals has been the most rewarding experience I have ever gotten to be a part of. Every day as a volunteer is a little bit different. I show up here at the zoo at 7 a.m. and we have a meeting. I work in giraffes, in the North Savannah hoofstock, or in warthogs occasionally. The mornings start off by doing a lot of cleaning of the habitats, getting the animals all fed and getting them out onto the habitats. And then we finish cleaning inside of the barns. Usually we break about noon for lunch. The afternoon is all about projects, which is really exciting. Sometimes I get to watch training sessions and see how the animals are keeping up with their husbandry activities and different forms of enrichment, which is always super cool to get to see. And we end the day by getting the animals off of habitat and feed them before going home for the night around 6 o'clock. If you are even pondering becoming a volunteer, sign up. Sign up. You're gonna get some really cool experiences that none of your friends are gonna get to have, and you're also gonna know that you're making a difference every single day that you're here. The animals, getting to really see their personalities and how they are as unique individuals is incredibly special. I really enjoy volunteering every Sunday. There's no way I would rather spend my weekends. I would clean and shovel poop all day, every day if I could. I really appreciate everybody coming and watching this virtual event and getting to be a part of the dallaszoo. Whether you sign up to be a volunteer, support in any other way, know that you are making a difference in the lives of these animals and the conservation efforts that the zoo does. We wouldn't get to be here without the support of every single one of you.
It's really heartwarming to look back at that, and it crystallizes why we do what we do. We're down to our last few minutes together for our Wild Night In, and we've got one more big surprise for you. But before we get to that, I want to remind you all that the online auction remains open and raffle tickets will be available until Monday evening, February 1st at 6 p.m. So if you're on the fence about something in the auction, you've still got a few days to think about it. And what we have to share next might cause you to want to buy a few more raffle tickets. We're sharing with you now never-before-seen footage we captured recently of our new male hippo, Gus, exploring the Simmons Hippo Outpost for the very first time. Gus is now starting to make appearances in the habitat more regularly, so make your plans to come meet Gus soon. Or buy a raffle ticket for a chance to win a special hippo experience. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce Gus.
Hello, my name is Nydia Gray, and I am the Assistant Supervisor of Hippos. And we're under the Highland Hippo Hut, hanging out with our brand new hippo. This is Gus, and this is his first day out on habitat. So Gus came here on a species survival plan, breeding rec. Pretty much we look at the genetics of all hippos and put the ones together that are gonna make the healthiest babies. He's been here for a couple months now. We've been doing a few little intros in the back, letting them touch noses. We want to make sure the girls feel comfortable with this new guy coming in, and we make sure that he feels comfortable hanging out in the area as well. He just turned 3 on January 13th, so he just had a birthday, and he weighs about 1,500 pounds. Gus is really cool. We really enjoy having him around. He's very friendly. He likes to follow us around. He wants to know what we're doing and how we're doing it. He likes to check and make sure we're cutting all his produce appropriately. But we can always catch him, and when we walk in the barn, first thing he does is come to see what we're doing. Watching him out here for the first day, he definitely wants to see what all the people are doing. He's hanging out at the window. He's a very friendly guy, and we're very happy to have him around, and hopefully y'all get to come and see him soon. So that's it over here at the Highland Hippo Hut. I want to thank y'all for hanging out at Wild Night Inn, and thank you so much for supporting your Dallas Zoo.
We're so excited to have introduced you to Gus tonight, and we look forward to seeing you on your next visit when you come see Gus and the more than 2,000 other animals that call the Dallas Zoo home.
Thank you for tuning in tonight for our first ever virtual fundraiser, Wild Night Inn. We hope you enjoyed the evening and learned a thing or two along the way.
Tonight was all about giving you a look at how and why we do what we do, but it was also about fundraising to support our mission. Just a reminder that the raffle tickets and auction are open through 6 p.m. on February 1st. And we'll post this video soon on our website, on Facebook, and on YouTube so that you can watch again or share.
Thank you for your support tonight and throughout the year, and we'll see you soon at the Dallas Zoo.